Joining us now, though, fighting Joe Morrissey on the line, noted lawyer in Richmond, former prosecutor, won over 50 cases in a row in Central Virginia. He'll most likely be elected to the state Senate in November, and he is joining us now. Joe, great to have you, man.
Good morning, John. How are you?
Joe, I'm fired up today. So I'm sitting here at my computer after my show going through some of the post-production work we have, and I get an email from Justin Fairfax outlining this massive suit that he's bringing against CBS News outlet for $400 million. What's up?
All right, let me talk about that. But first of all, I got to share something with you. I'm listening to your show, getting ready to come on, listening to the music. So I'm in my room, okay? And I got to share this with you because Myrna said, if you don't, then I'm going to divulge it, okay? So I'm listening, and I'm dancing in my room to, he's bad, Leroy Brown, baddest man in the whole downtown. And she's standing, I turn, and she's standing at the doorway laughing at me and videotaping me as I'm dancing. So she said, if you don't admit that on John Fredericks show, then I'm going to release the video. So there you have it.
And our executive producer, Kara, picked that song out, Joe, just for you. So it worked.
I love it.
We got you going.
Let me tell you something. I got this 49-page pleading. It's called a complaint for damages yesterday. And I'm telling you, I've read 1,000 pleadings. This one was riveting. You can't put it down. It reads like a book of the month club, a page turner that you literally can't put down. That's what it was. And if half of the information contained in here is provable in court, it is devastating to CBS Corporation. It is devastating to CBS Broadcasting Incorporated. And it shows with absolute clarity that Justin Fairfax was defamed by Meredith Watson, Vanessa Tyson, and CBS.
When you said that it reads like a book of the month club, can you elaborate on that, Joe?
Absolutely. Okay, well, first of all, everybody knows that Meredith Watson and Justin Fairfax, our lieutenant governor, were classmates at Duke. Okay? And she alleges that she was raped by Justin Fairfax at Duke. Okay? Only one problem with her case. Number one problem. She, of course, has never gone to the police. She's never told them what happened. But there is an eyewitness. I'm not making this up. Mm-hmm. An eyewitness who was in the room at the time, who had formerly dated Meredith Watson, who was in the Duke University dorm room fraternity and saw the actual act and said that it was consensual. But it gets better than that. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
There is another person who dated Meredith Watson.
Yes.
Who knew this eyewitness, okay, who also know Justin Fairfax. He is also aware of the consensual act. And guess what his job is?
What?
He is a lawyer for CBS in their defamation department. I mean, you can't make this up.
Oh, my goodness.
Let me repeat that. Justin Fairfax is suing CBS for defamation, saying that, among other things, CBS did not investigate this story. They put her on in an interview, Meredith Watson, disseminated it to millions of people across the country, did not do their due diligence, knew or should have known that it was false. They alleged defamation, and one of the lawyers for CBS knew beforehand that there was a consensual act. I mean, like I said a moment ago, if half this stuff comes out in court, can you say cha-ching, cha-ching? there's some big money that's going to be exchanged.
So in looking at this case and the way Fairfax's lawyers outlined this against CBS, based on your knowledge, and there's nobody better in America to know how this stuff works than Joe Morrissey, does Fairfax have a chance at winning this case?
He has more than a chance. He has much more than a chance. Let me be clear. When you sue somebody, if you sue regular John Doe, okay, you have to prove that somebody made a false statement. If you sue a public figure, you have to prove that not only was it a false statement, but the utterance or the printing, the dissemination of that false statement was done with malice. You have to prove that CBS knew or should have known that it was a complete and utterly false story. Yes, if Fairfax can show that an attorney with CBS's defamation department knew that this was a consensual act, had spoken with people, and CBS ran this story anyway, it is devastating to CBS. Now, it's remember what's going to happen. It's interesting. He did not sue either Meredith Watson or Vanessa Tyson. But what will happen is that those two women will be deposed. They'll have a deposition taken. And I'm telling you, John, that when this was read yesterday, Vanessa Tyson and Meredith Watson read this over because their lawyers faxed them or emailed them this complaint. They sat down, they stopped whatever they were doing, they stopped down, and they started reading, okay, in this complaint, the facts associated with each one of their allegations. And I'm telling you, as they read that, they said to themselves, oh, blank, blank, blank. Do you follow me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So, beginning on page 13 of the complaint, both Meredith Tyson, the facts associated with Meredith Tyson Meredith Baxter and Vanessa Tyson come out. But John, I am telling you, it gets better. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
There is an allegation made in the complaint that Stoney, Mayor LeVar Stoney, one of his chief aides, Thad Stevenson, and Thad Stevens' wife, Miss Andrea Scharfer, were in fact complicit in the dissemination of this story. Now, here's what they allege in the complaint. Mm-hmm. It's alleged that, beginning on page 14 of the complaint, that, again, it doesn't get any better. Mm-hmm. Apparently, Vanessa Tyson knew Thad Stevenson, okay? Apparently they went to school together. All right. And in the complaint, it alleged that as Fairfax was about to ascend to the governorship because of the scandal, blackface scandal involving Governor Northam, on that Sunday, there was a posting. And apparently on Andrea Scharf, the wife of Thad Williamson, who worked for Stoney, was the title Monday Action, where they were going to disseminate Vanessa Tyson's now alleged false allegation. And it was done politically to stop Justin Fairfax from becoming governor. I mean, if it is true, and if Fairfax proves it, Thad Williamson, LeVar Stoney, they're done. It shows an evil, I mean that word, evil, malicious.
What does this do to...
Absolutely pre-planned organization to undermine Justin Fairfax. It's horrible.
So, Joe, they're basically saying that this was a political hit to discredit Justin Fairfax on the week that he may very well have been ascending to the governorship.
Absolutely.
And let me just ask you this. It really seems to stink to high heaven. It seems like LeVar Stoney was involved in this. How damaging is this to LeVar Stoney?
It's fatal if it's proved in court. LeVar Stoney, Andrea Scharf, Thad Stevenson will all be deposed. Okay, so let me just read. A paragraph. Okay, remember, Andrea Scharf is the wife of Thad Williamson. Thad Williamson is now running for 5th District City Council person. All right, here's paragraph 60. Scharf is no stranger to Virginia politics. She is the wife of Thad Williamson, who was running for the city council in Richmond. Williamson was an advisor to Mayor LeVar Stoney. The two are very close friends. Williamson is supporting a major redevelopment project in downtown Richmond that is being promoted by Stoney. Williamson, listen to this, Williamson is also a longtime and former schoolmate of Tyson. Did you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Williamson and Vanessa Tyson are longtime friends and schoolmates. At no point is there any evidence that Miss Tyson ever said anything to any other party out there about being assaulted by Justin Fairfax. Then Thad Williamson's wife, Andrea Scharf, on that Sunday, talking about Monday action, releases a post from Vanessa Tyson that is hugely damaging to Justin Fairfax on the eve of him about to ascend to the governor's position. Are you following me?
Yes.
No, it's too. What's the expression from Yogi Berra? You're a big baseball man. It's too coincidental to be a coincidence.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, it literally, John, it reads like a bestseller, and I'm going to have on the Fighting Joe Morrissey show, Lauren Burke, Justin Fairfax's communication director. She's going to be on my show at 11 o'clock, and we're going to dissect it even more. And it alleges in there that, his career was ruined. Okay, he said that he was a once promising. I'm talking about Justin Fairfax,
mm-hmm.
lawyer at a top firm, a partner at Morrison and Forrester. It's a top international law firm, and it alleges that he would have earned millions of dollars over the years, and that's gone because they fired him. His wife and 2 young children cannot escape having to hear these vicious false stories. His children are older than mine. Okay, and that is huge, John. When your children go to school and they have to hear about this, and it turns out, according to the pleading, that it's all patently false. And let me make this point. Fairfax's lawyers in this brief make a compelling argument that they take Tyson first, Vanessa Tyson. They said this allegedly happened in 2004 at the Democratic National Convention in Boston. And they make out a compelling story that the following occurred. Not only was the entire act in the hotel room, consensual, but thereafter she contacted Fairfax, wanted to meet him in New York City. He was going to law school at Columbia Law School. That she wanted to introduce him to her mother. And here's the key. She became a sexual assault advocate. I'm talking about Vanessa Tyson. Mm-hmm. She went around the country giving lectures. She talked about her own assault by her father, who was a convicted pedophile and went to prison. In all these years, guess who she never, talking about her own personal nightmares, i.e. involving her father being sexually assaulted. Guess who she never, ever mentioned?
Who? Justin Fairfax.
Never mentioned it.
Justin Fairfax.
Yeah.
Never mentioned Justin Fairfax.
And it is going to be, the depositions will be almost dispositive. My prediction is that CBS will settle this, will offer to settle it for several million. That's just my opinion. But I think Justin Fairfax, his political career benefits only if the following occurs. If CBS comes out and says, we formally apologize to Justin Fairfax, we apologize for not investigating this matter, the allegations made by Vanessa Tyson and Meredith Baxter are without merit. We apologize to him, and we have settled our lawsuit with him, and we are moving on. If that occurs, he's back in the driver's seat. LeVar Stoney is out on his fanny, and Thad Williamson can go back to the University of Richmond teaching whatever he teaches, but he won't be teaching ethics.
So you believe that CBS Corporation will settle this for a big number, but you're also saying that Fairfax is not going to take a sealed settlement. There's going to have to be an admission of wrongdoing on CBS's part. Is that what I'm hearing?
It has to be. If he wants to have a political career, there has got to be a front page story in the Washington Post, the Virginia Pilot, the RTD, and throughout the Commonwealth, that headline, CBS settles with Fairfax, and Watson Tyson claims deemed unfounded. And then everybody reads and they go, okay, that's it. And if that happens and it comes out how LeVar Stoney, Thad Williamson, and Andrea Scharf tried to promote this false story, they're all three are done. Let me tell you something. If you read this complaint, and Stoney did, and Scharf and Williamson did what Justin Fairfax said they did, I can't think of the correct words to use.
Mm-hmm.
It's not impolite. It's not unseemly. It's not inexplicable. It's not indefensible. It's so far worse than that.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't. Evil doesn't describe what he did.
Because the way this is playing out, or the way the lawsuit is playing out, the way you've explained this, Joe. And by the way, thank you, Joe Morrissey, for interpreting this for our listeners. This is probably the best that anybody is ever going to get. Is this segment with you, and thank you for that, Joe, and thank you for studying it to such a degree. But if you look at the political implications, based on what you said, this was potentially, allegedly, a political hit orchestrated by the mayor of Richmond, LeVar Stoney, allegedly to take out a Fairfax who could have been ascending to the governorship, and by very nefarious means, as they've outlined in this lawsuit, if indeed it is proven to be somewhat true, or they settle and admit some of it. But then let's take this a step further, okay? Because Stoney wants.
Let me just stop you right there. That is correct. And for the listening audience, remember, LeVar Stoney is mayor. He has already made, even though he was simply the chauffeur for Terry McAuliffe before he became appointed to his position in his cabinet, has no degree beyond college. He is already talking about running for governor, because that's what one does. You become mayor and you propose a $600 million project, and then you decide, I'm going to run for mayor. But let the viewing audience, listening audience understand this. LeVar Stoney's competition for governor would have been Justin Fairfax. If Justin Fairfax had ascended to the governorship after the Governor Northam's blackface scandal, then Justin Fairfax would have served the final 3 years of Governor Northam's term, and then would have been elected in his own right for another 4-year term. That's 7 years down the road, and Stoney is a forgotten person by that time, because by that time the people would have thrown him out of office because they saw what he did by putting him in debt for this Coliseum. Do you see why it was so important to prevent Justin Fairfax from ascending to the governorship?
Yes, for Stoney's career. But
Yeah.
let me just ask one question, because we have to play this out. Everybody knows that LeVar Stoney and Terry McAuliffe are very, very close, both personally and politically. A lot of the staff that Stoney has in Richmond work for McAuliffe. So is there a potential Terry McAuliffe tie-in here that also has political implications? Do you think he may have played a role in winking this through? What do you think?
I did not. When I read the pleading, I read nothing about a McAuliffe connection to this conspiracy to take Justin Fairfax down. All right. So what do I say on my show? I give people the facts. All right. And you will not get that interpretation from me here. Depositions will be taken and more evidence will come out. But this 49-page manifesto is an indictment of the two women, CBS, and the trifecta of Mayor Stoney, Thad Williamson, and his wife, Andrea Scharf.
So let me ask you this. Terry McAuliffe has told everybody he's going to run for governor, right? So Fairfax.
Well, I think he has.
Yeah, he is going to.
I believe he will run.
He is going to run for governor. Justin Fairfax has told me personally he is going to run for governor. He's not backing down. If this is proven, Fairfax is going to raise millions of dollars from all over the United States. This guy would have been just wronged with no due process. And
Okay, go ahead.
And does that put Fairfax in play to beat McAuliffe?
Okay, I said this before, and I told the lieutenant governor. I said, if what happened to you happened, it is terribly unfair, and I'm sorry about that. But unless and until you sue the women in CBS, your political career is over. And I said that to Lauren Burke on several occasions. Well, now they finally agree. They've sued, okay? If the only way his political career is resuscitated, the only way is if he sued, and he's done that, and two, he wins. If that occurs, then he can overcome what happened and maybe even get a boost. All right? Now, here's what's going to happen. I believe Terry McAuliffe will run for governor, and I think Justin Fairfax will, if he is successful in his lawsuit, will compete against him. And hell, you might even throw Jennifer McClellan into the mix as well. You could see those three candidates vying for governor. What you will not see is LeVar Stoney running against his mentor, Terry McAuliffe.
Mm-hmm. Well, also, Delegate Foy has said she's going to run. I mean, I've always been the belief that McClellan wants things handed to her, and until they were ready to anoint her as a nominee, and she could get $1 million from Michael Bills and Sonia Smith, she'll run for Attorney General. She's not going to take on McAuliffe. But I'm telling you, and I've been saying this for some time, Fairfax told me he's going to run for governor. And if they prove this out, I'm telling you, Joe, this is no cakewalk. I mean, if they prove this out, and if there's a settlement and there's an admission that this was a nefarious plot in order to stop Fairfax from ascending to governorship, the way this lawsuit is outlined, and it seems pretty, it seems like you said, it's like, just reading a bestseller. I mean, if any of this is proven, Fairfax becomes a viable candidate for governor, and there's a pathway for him to beat McAuliffe. There is no question about it. And then McAuliffe's problem is, he's got to disassociate himself from all this, including his buddy LeVar Stoney, which is not going to be politically easy. Now, Terry McAuliffe is really good at this stuff. He'll probably figure it out, but I would not after reading this like you, as a political analyst, I would not for 1 minute completely discount the gubernatorial candidacy of Justin Fairfax in Virginia in 2021. So I think if he's exonerated, he is going to go into this primary, a Democratic primary, and have a 50-50 chance of beating Terry McAuliffe. If this is proven to be the way it's outlined, because he's been saying, I want due process. He's been he will say, I've been screwed. I fought back. And I don't know what McAuliffe's going to do, sit there and say, yeah, well, I called on you to resign. So, all of this stuff is going to come out for the Democrats, and I think Fairfax becomes a very viable candidate. What about you?
Yeah. I think I just said that. If he wins this lawsuit, and it is shown that there was a conspiracy by these two women, LeVar Stoney and his groupies, to take Fairfax down, one African-American man trying to take another man down, and that the allegation by Vanessa Tyson was false. Oh, I think it definitely puts Justin Fairfax back on track. His political career is back on track. There's no question about that. Terry McAuliffe will do what he wants to do. I believe he will run for governor, okay? And I think he will make a compelling case why he should be governor. Fortunately for McAuliffe, he is not tainted by this pleading. Do you follow me? And so at the end of the day, I think it could easily be a slugfest between Justin and Terry McAuliffe. But here's, folks, let me give you something because, again, I like sharing with people facts and let them make their own conclusion. Consider the following that begins on page 16 of this 49-page brief. Remember, Vanessa Tyson said, Justin Fairfax raped me in his hotel room, sodomized me in his hotel room in 2004. And then, remember, it has been 15 years, okay? And she hasn't said anything. Now, in the interim, what did she do? Listen to the following. Mm-hmm. Tyson has long been a public and outspoken advocate regarding issues of sexual violence and sexual assault. Mm-hmm. She has spoken publicly on this topic. Mm-hmm. All right. She, when Justin Fairfax ran in 2013 for Attorney General, and in 2017 for Lieutenant Governor, Tyson never mentioned this alleged assault. She goes on. Paragraph 69. During a podcast posted on YouTube on April 14th, 2017, Tyson stated, quote, I started a program teaching self-esteem for girls in lockup. Mm-hmm. I started it because I was one of the founding members of the Survivors Speaking Bureau for the Boston Area Rape Crisis Center. Mm-hmm. I toured all over New England. Mm-hmm. My father was a convicted pedophile. Mm-hmm. I toured all over New England talking about what happened to me as a child mm-hmm. and how it affected me as an adult. Mm-hmm. Let me repeat that. Tyson is saying, I toured all over New England telling people my own personal story about how sexual assault affected me as an adult. Mm-hmm. And never once did she mention Justin Fairfax. Mm-hmm. Folks, what do you mention? What do you make of that? how she's going to go public with what her father did to her. And I'm not discounting that her father may very well have assaulted her.
Mm-hmm.
But she's sharing her own personal story, her own personal tragedy. And then she left out what happened to her by the lieutenant governor of Virginia in 2004. I'm sorry, folks. I'm not buying it.
Mm-hmm.
And, other Democrats might not say it because, you don't want to go south of the Me Too, folks. I just did. I don't believe her.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to see this deposition, and I want to see it played out in court. Let me just tell you this. I was a prosecutor for a long time. There are women that are assaulted, and their attackers need to be prosecuted and put in jail.
Mm-hmm.
And as a prosecutor, prosecutors, men and women, they encourage these victims to come forward, to go to the police. Do you know that Vanessa Tyson and Meredith Baxter, even though have yet to go to the police with their story,
mm-hmm.
but they're willing to come on CBS in a protected environment, answer Gayle King's questions, accuse another person of a horrible crime, but not go to the police?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, folks. I'm not buying it, and it upsets me. And I hate to go on, John, but that's how I feel.
You think they lied?
Yes, I do. I started before saying that I want to give them both their day.
Yes.
After reading this, listen, I have read their displeading. I have read their statements. I have listened to and analyzed and commented on their statements to Gayle King. I think they're lying. Period. Paragraph.
So what they don't want to do, right?
Joe Morrissey's opinion. What do I know?
So, Joe, well, you know a lot. You won 55 straight cases in Richmond at one time, and you were a prosecutor, and you were one of the best lawyers in the Mid-Atlantic, as everyone knows. So you know a lot. Joe, let me just ask you this: isn't there a huge risk here of these two women getting on the stand and being cross-examined in the manner that you just outlined right here on the radio?
Of course there is. That's why I said earlier I would have liked to have been a fly on the wall yesterday when Vanessa Tyson and Meredith Baxter received this 49-page complaint from their respective lawyers. And as I told my wife, they sat there reading this, and they read that what I just read to you, and Meredith Baxter read that there was another person in the room whom she previously dated who will testify that she initiated their sexual encounter in the Duke dorm. Okay. Additionally, there's an allegation in the complaint that she made a false allegation of rape against a Duke basketball player who went on to play in the NBA. I'm telling you with certitude, Meredith Baxter read this complaint and she said, "Oh my God."
It's an incredible turn of events, and I just want to remind our audience that when this went down, Joe, and everybody was in a frenzy calling for Fairfax to resign, media people, government officials, McAuliffe, this one, that one, Black Caucus, everybody, the candidates for president were jumping in, right? All of these people that jumped on Fairfax and told him to resign. I just want to remind our audience that there were only two people of note in media in America who said Justin Fairfax deserves due process. Justin Fairfax should be heard. We understand the allegations are serious. We understand, we encourage women to go forward, but it was only John Fredericks and Joe Morrissey in America, in Virginia, who said Justin Fairfax deserves due process. just like Brett Kavanaugh did, just like any American does. That's the system we have. Everybody jumped to conclusion. Everybody rode the train. He got railroaded. And now you get this document that you've broken down for us. And it's kind of shameful with a lot of the people that jumped on this guy immediately asking him to get out of there. And never gave him due process. And now when I look back at, let me say one other thing. Now that I look back at Eileen Filler-Corn, who's the minority leader, and she would absolutely not have anything to do with a hearing in the House of which Fairfax wanted to cross-examine the accusers, right? She wanted nothing to do with it. She called it a Republican circus or whatever she did, right? You got to think to yourself, this is why they didn't want a hearing, right? Because they knew all this stuff was going to come out, or they were certainly concerned about it. And now it's coming down on everybody's head. And again, Terry McAuliffe's got to weigh in on this. I mean, he's going to run for governor. He's friends with Stoney. He's got to weigh in at some point, and he's got some risk here.
Okay,
I
want to make a couple of observations about your points that you just made. Number one, in addition to Fredericks and Morrissey saying that Justin Fairfax deserved due process, also Paul Goldman weighed in.
True.
And unequivocally said
yes.
that Justin Fairfax deserves due process. Also, while you were correct, the Senate Democratic Caucus, the House Democratic Caucus, the Democratic leadership in Virginia, all right, and numerous Democratic politicos all said, you must resign, Justin Fairfax. One delegate had articles of impeachment drafted against Justin Fairfax.
Patrick Hope.
There were two other,
Patrick
there were
Hope.
two other politicians, Democrats, that did not call for him to resign, and that was Bobby Scott and Senator Mark Warner. So everybody else, though, were throwing him to the wolves.
Mm-hmm.
With Filler-Corn, she did not want a hearing in the House, but that was because, in my opinion, by that time, I had spent a month on my radio, 2 months, 3 months, poking the holes in the story, and then all of a sudden, everybody got quiet.
Mm-hmm.
The Black Caucus,
mm-hmm.
they went silent.
Mm-hmm.
Here's that sound.
Crickets.
Lamont Hagsby and all those folks, they quieted down after Morrissey talked about the lack of due process
mm-hmm.
and all the holes in the two women's story.
Mm-hmm.
The Senate Democratic Caucus,
mm-hmm.
they went silent. The House Democratic Caucus went silent. Susan Swecker and that crowd over there went silent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because these holes developed. Now, Filler-Corn did not want the hearing in the House because she didn't want to give the Republicans that forum. And listen, let's be clear. John, I know you're a Republican, but let's be clear. The Republicans in the House, they did not want to have that forum in the House of Delegates in order to get at the truth. They wanted to have that forum in order to tar and feather Justin Fairfax. And Justin Fairfax, it was a no-win situation there. It's like defending, no, I did not kick the little puppy. No, I did not beat my wife. What it has to do is be played out in court, in deposition. It will be done. And if the evidence as contained in the 49 pages of this pleading complaint of defamation is shown to be even halfway true, Justin Fairfax comes off resuscitation. His political career is back where it was, if not higher than in January.
No, it's higher. Joe, it's higher.
Yeah.
It's just not back. It's just not back to where he was. I mean, this guy was, if this is proven, this guy was falsely accused, and everybody in his party jumped on him to get out of there as he was going to ascend the governor. So it's higher than ever. And so if this is proven, Fairfax is going to beat McAuliffe in a Democratic primary because he would have been falsely accused. And everybody jumped on him with no due process, no evidence. I mean, I had people like Susan Platt that ran for lieutenant governor, like her hair went on fire over why this guy was still there. None of them gave this guy one single minute of opportunity to defend himself. This was a political lynching, if it's proven to be what is in that suit. Now, it's all alleged. Obviously, we got to go to the next step. But if it was, this is a political lynching against Justin Fairfax. And he's bigger and better and stronger than ever because he's going to be able to say, look what they did to me. Are you going to let them do this to me? Because if they do, guess what? The next person they'll do it against is you. That's from
John, you're absolutely correct, but Governor McAuliffe, he's not indicted in this pleading.
Right.
You follow me?
Right.
He's not indicted in this pleading like all these other people are. And let me just again, I taught history. I told my students history repeats itself both in people's behavior and in government's behavior. There have been two people who have run for, I believe, two people in the history of the Commonwealth that served 2 terms as governor. Remember, because of our state constitution, you can't succeed yourself.
Right.
You can't serve 2 successive terms, but you can sit out a term or 2 and then run again. And Holton ran twice, and I believe both people that have run twice have won. So McAuliffe is as the former governor of Virginia, and he did go out on a high note. If he decides to run in 2021, he is the front runner.
Yes.
That's a fact.
Yes.
Excuse me, I only give facts. That's my opinion.
Yes.
However, Justin Fairfax, if he proves these allegations, he becomes a formidable opponent.
Agreed.
Okay.
I totally agree. I agree with that 100%. And up until today, I believed it was my political view that McAuliffe was easily going to win the Democratic nomination and likely be the next governor again of Virginia in 2021. But this changes everything. And, the other thing is what we haven't talked about is Ralph Northam, because there's a school of thought that says, well, let me see. If this didn't happen to Fairfax, would Northam have stayed in office? Would Northam have still stayed? Right? I mean, one of the reasons for Northam to stay was, well, we can't have this guy ascend to the governorship while all the scandal's going on. So then you have to ask yourself, would Ralph Northam have been able to stay as governor after the blackface scandal? I mean, no one's going to be able to answer that question.
Yeah. Certainly there was a great deal of pressure on Northam to resign.
Right.
Here is my opinion. I believe that Northam never would have stepped down, irrespective of whether or not the bad news about Fairfax came out. I believe, and there was nothing that could have forced Northam to step out. He would have simply stood up to the Swecker crowd, to the Black Caucus, to the Senate Democratic Caucus, the House Democratic Caucus, and said what he said Saturday morning. It isn't me. I'm not going anywhere. Deal with it. That's what I believe would have happened. But certainly, the scandal involving Justin Fairfax that erupted that weekend, that Monday, following on the heels of what was going on with Northam, certainly helped Northam. But let me just be clear about this. The reason the Justin Fairfax scandal erupted was because Stoney and his crew feared that Fairfax was about to become governor. And because that was all of the talk that weekend, all right? And it is clear that Thad Williamson went to school, with Vanessa Tyson. They are friends, Thad Williamson is a chief aide to Stoney. His wife put on her screen Monday action. She might as well have put on there Monday conspiratorial endeavor. It doesn't make any difference. It was done and released to taint Justin Fairfax. It is not a coincidence. So, with that said, I believe if Justin Fairfax is vindicated, then there will be repercussions against LeVar Stoney.
Oh, it's not even begun, Joe. This thing is gonna blow the lid off the whole cabal going in there. If this is true, there's no question about it, and it's going to revitalize Fairfax. It's going to end careers of others. But Joe, we're out of time. This was a great segment. Your analysis, as always, spot on.